Good evening all of you my dear students. As you know that in our last class we studied a topic. The name of that topic is clause. In that class we studied what is clause. Then afterward we studied first of all we studied what is clause, which means we studied in that class the definition of clause with the help of an example. Then afterward we studied types of clause. In this type of clause we studied independent clause, first type, which is first type independent clause or main clause we can say it, or we can say it principal clause. The explanation of that clause with the help of an example. Then afterward today we will start next type of clause. The name of that clause is dependent clause, or we can say it subordinate clause. Dependent clause or synonym of it is subordinate clause, we can say that, or we can say dependent clause or subordinate clause, to both are the same thing. Now see, what is dependent clause or subordinate clause? A dependent clause must always be accompanied by an independent clause, which means dependent clause must always join with by an independent clause. Accompanied means के संग, के साथ होना. Accompanied means साथ होना. So we can say it dependent clause must always be accompanied by independent clause, means it always situated in a sentence with independent clause, we can say in this way also. Now see afterward what should be given there. A sentence may have one or more dependent clause. If any sentence there's one or more dependent clause also, there is no doubt. In any sentence there have one or more dependent clause. I think that all of you understand the definition of dependent clause or subordinate clause. Now see an example. Even though Sita had to look after her sick parents, she never compromised with her studies. In this sentence, the dependent clause is even though Sita had to look after her sick parents. This sentence is a dependent clause. This sentence depends on another sentence, which is she never compromised with her studies. This is independent sentence, independent clause. So I think that all of you understand the example of that particular clause. Now see afterward, next clause is adjective clause. Now see, what is an adjective clause? An adjective clause modifies a noun or a pronoun. Means adjective clause are those clauses which always modify or change a noun or a pronoun in a sentence. Then afterward, adjective clauses are introduced by relative pronoun. Adjective clause always introduced by relative pronouns. So I think that all of you understand the explanation of that adjective clause. Now see an example. Sita prefers the courses which prepare her for a teaching career. In this sentence, adjective clause is which prepare her for a teaching career. This sentence is an adjective clause which prepare her for a teaching career. This sentence is an adjective clause. In this sentence, which is the relative pronoun? Which is that particular word which show relative pronoun, or which is the relative pronoun? So I think that all of you understand the explanation of adjective clause with the help of an example. So my dear student, first of all read it, then afterward write it, then afterward learn it. Take care, have a nice day.